Today was Joe Biden's first full day as president, and as he's set to work cleaning up the mess left by his predecessor, Republicans predictably lost their minds. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. It is very hard to overstate the sheer magnitude of the crisis left behind by the Trump administration. It's unprecedented in our lifetimes and in modern American history. And in the short term, it's only getting worse. For one thing, Biden inherited the worst economy since the Great Depression. And as we learned this morning, 900,000 Americans filed for jobless claims last week, which means this is now the second time in 12 years Biden has been part of an administration that inherited an economy in smoldering ruins from a Republican predecessor. Biden's like the grandpa who sits quietly in the recliner all day reading a newspaper, but then when it gets too cold, you have to ask him to chop the firewood because no one else knows how. Get out of the way, kid. You're going to hurt yourself with that axe. Now, why don't you and your noodle arms go play some more Minecraft? So Biden started by signing a total of 17 executive actions on his first day in office yesterday. And then today, he discussed his administration's COVID response and signed 10 more.
Joe Biden already signing 17 executive orders, some of them focusing on the coronavirus, 10 more today focusing specifically on the pandemic.
Moments ago, the president also signing those executive actions aimed at changing the course of the pandemic in this country, including expanding testing, accelerating vaccinations, and safely reopening schools.
As we've indicated earlier, we're going to be signing a number of executive orders over the next several days to week. And I'm going to start today on the compounding crisis of COVID, that is COVID-19, along with the economic crisis following that, and climate crisis, racial equity issues.
So you know everything. It's like coming home thinking you had a table delivered, but it's just the pieces for a table in a box. Crap, okay. Allen wrench time, Joe. And that was just the first round. To undo heinous Trump policies like the Muslim ban and the Keystone Pipeline and stop construction of the border wall, among other things, Biden also re-entered the U.S. into the Paris Climate Agreement, which basically sets goals for limiting greenhouse gas emissions. It's the bare minimum we can do to address climate change since large parts of the country were, on fire for most of the summer. And yet, Texas Senator Ted Cruz could not help but weigh in with a stunningly stupid retort.
The Texas senator tweeted, quote, "By rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, President Biden indicates he's more interested in the views of the citizens of Paris than in the jobs of the citizens of Pittsburgh."
Well, I guess with Trump gone, there was an opening for a new wildly objectionable kazoo voice heel. Look, I know he just recycled this line from Trump, but it was dumb then and it's even dumber now. For one thing, the Paris Climate Accord isn't about Paris. It was signed in Paris. Are you really this stupid? Is your beard growing into your brain? Does Ted Cruz also think New York Fashion Week is about New York fashion? I'm coming down the runway now. It's a delivery guy wearing headphones on an electric bike who will not stop for red lights. Now, I should clarify, Ted Cruz isn't that stupid. He's a scheming, festering gym sock full of mayonnaise who knows full well that the city of Pittsburgh voluntarily followed the Paris Agreement even after Trump withdrew. And personally, I think Ted Cruz is the last person who should pretend to stick up for Pittsburgh since he just tried to throw out the votes of everyone who lives in Pittsburgh. Have you no shame, you microwaved Aquaman Funko Pop? And look, my dad's from there, so I'm biased, but I hate that the core of this is that Paris is fancy and Pittsburgh is blue collar, when anyone who's been to both places knows the burg is just as pretty, if not prettier than Paris. We got more bridges than Venice, 3 rivers to Paris's 1, and last I checked, you ain't gonna find no incline in the City of Lights. So, Ted Cruz, to use the local parlance of my father's ancestral land, you're a jagoff. President Biden also reversed Trump's decision to leave the World Health Organization in the middle of a deadly pandemic, and today, Biden's new chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, announced that the U.S. would remain in the WHO, and later in the day, he spoke to the press at the White House.
I am honored to announce that the United States will remain a member of the World Health Organization. Yesterday, President Biden signed letters retracting the previous administration's announcement to withdraw from the organization.
The idea that you can get up here and talk about what you know, what the evidence, what the science is, and no, that's it. let the science speak. It is somewhat of a liberating feeling.
Basically vanished for a few months there for a while. You feel like you're back now?
I think so.
Yesterday must have been amazing for Fauci. I picture him waltzing down the block of his old Brooklyn neighborhood, heads popping out of windows like a Neil Simon play. Hey, it's Fauci! Yo, Fauci! That's right, baby, I'm back! I'll meet you down at Mickey's. Next round of vaccines are on Tony the Fauci. Fauci's unchained, everybody. He's unmuzzled. He's finally free. He doesn't have to hide behind his hand anymore. Probably had to peel that thing off this morning and then scrub off the handprint like a frat guy who woke up with Sharpie on his face. So the scale of the problems we're facing cannot be overstated. The U.S. set yet another new record for daily coronavirus deaths on Trump's last day in office. Millions out of work, facing homelessness, child hunger on the rise, not to mention the structural inequalities that existed before Trump and got worse during his presidency. Trump left office yesterday with 3 million fewer jobs than when he started. Meanwhile, Wall Street added 56 new billionaires just since the pandemic began. Billionaires have added $1 trillion in wealth since the start of the pandemic, including a group of just 10 billionaires alone who added more than $400 billion to their wealth. That group includes Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Larry Page, and Mark Zuckerberg, who, despite the increase in his wealth, apparently still doesn't have enough money to get a haircut that doesn't make him look like Data playing a Roman emperor on the holodeck. TNG Deep Cut. Personally, I can't wait for incoming Senate Budget Chair and tonight's guest, Bernie Sanders, to dig in and get to work on that. It's got to be his life's dream and the billionaire's worst nightmare. For one thing, no one's better suited to be in charge of a budget than a guy who has one solid coat and that's it. You know how when winter rolls around and you look in your closet and there are like 6 different jackets of varying sizes and thickness? That doesn't happen to Bernie. He has one coat that he wears from October to February, and if it's cold any other time of the year, he just does a lap around the Capitol. Then there's the fact that the vaccine rollout, which we've had months to prepare for and which could finally end the pandemic, has been a disaster. In some cases, vaccines are literally getting thrown in the garbage, which is just horrifying. I mean, just give them away. Give them to anyone. Don't make me rifle through the dumpster behind a CVS looking for another vial that says Pfizer, because I will do it again. At this point, I'm going to buy a knockoff vaccine from one of the guys selling bags in Times Square, which will make sense as Pfizer already looks like a knockoff spelling. Now, you might have expected that when Biden took office, he would at least inherit from Trump a vaccine plan that was bad or incomplete or both. But it's even worse than that. It turns out there was actually no plan at all.
Brand new reporting about the vaccine rollout, and it is much worse than we thought. Sources tell CNN that the Biden administration is inheriting a non-existent vaccine distribution plan from the Trump administration.
One source telling CNN, quote, "There is nothing for us to rework. We are going to have to build everything from scratch."
This is criminal. I mean, my God, they knew this was coming and they did nothing. Was the point of warp speed to go as fast as possible before crashing into a brick wall? The Trump administration had a year, and they didn't even sit down and draw up a plan. Was coronavirus task force leader Mike Pence in cold storage during that whole time? Did Dr. Birx get lost in a pile of scarves? Although, in a way, I guess it's better to just write your own plan than have to rework whatever the hell Trump would have come up with. It's like fixing a birthday cake after putting your kid in charge of making it. I mean, you can add as much sugar as you want, but there's nothing you can do about that ketchup icing. So Biden and Democrats in the Senate have a series of truly daunting challenges in front of them, not to mention they also have to hold the previous president and his allies accountable for inciting a violent insurrection and investigate what happened. Just in the last 24 hours, we've learned that the Army lied about the involvement of Michael Flynn's brother in the military response to the riot, and a Republican congressman has said the insurrection was much worse than the public realized. All that information needs to come out and be investigated, not to mention all the other simultaneous crises we've already mentioned. By Biden's own admission, the executive orders are just a first step that predictably has Fox News losing its mind.
Joe Biden said yesterday, "I want unity." He talked about that in his speech, but the first thing he does, the first order of business, is to walk in, sit down at the table, and he has 17 executive orders, really wiping away much of what President Trump did.
They had all those executive orders ready to go. The immigration ones particularly stuck out. What did you think?
Well, I was mystified. In fact, my question is, what the heck is going on?
The weak, the frail, the cognitively struggling Biden signing this flurry of executive orders.
I'm sorry, you think Biden is frail and cognitively struggling? The guy you supported for the last 4 years thought windmills cause cancer, read his own speeches off the teleprompter like he was trying to follow the subtitles of a foreign film, and clutched the podium the way a grandpa clutches the steering wheel when he drives through Midtown Manhattan. Biden was literally jogging over to reporters at the inauguration yesterday like a marathon runner who comes in dead last because he won't stop taking selfies with the crowd. Also, Karl Rove, why are you still on TV? Why are you still toting around that stupid whiteboard? If you're not going to slink away in shame and disgrace the way you should, at least get a new gig. I mean, even Carrot Top changed his hair for a while. In fact, Republicans are already plotting to do everything possible to stall the Democrats' agenda, which includes a proposed $1.9 trillion stimulus and health care package and a raft of desperately needed voting reforms. Mitch McConnell and other Republicans are demanding that new Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer commit to keeping the filibuster, which is insane because even if Democrats don't get rid of it, which they absolutely should, just the threat of getting rid of it can be very powerful. If you walk around Prospect Park with a katana, you don't actually need to use it. People are going to, stay out of your way. And now even moderate Democrats are pissed at McConnell and the GOP for making such a ridiculous demand. Montana Senator John Tester told Politico Chuck Schumer is the majority leader and he should be treated like the majority leader. We can get done around here and we ought to be focused on getting stuff done. First of all, it's awesome when someone says for stuff the first time and then just switches back to stuff. And I'm very down for more cursing from Senate Democrats. They might as well take a cue from Tester and call their first bill the Get Done Act of 2021. Second, he's right. You guys lost. Some of you even tried to overthrow democracy. You don't get to make demands, and you don't get forgiven just because it didn't work. When I tried to flip over the table at Thanksgiving because no one complimented my Cajun green beans, only to realize the table was way too heavy, I didn't get to sit back down and pretend nothing happened. I had to go outside and, to quote my wife, think about the example I'm setting for our kids. President Biden, Democrats in Congress have a towering challenge ahead of them. They have to fix both what Trump broke and what was broken before him, all while holding him and his enablers accountable, as well as fixing the conditions that created him. It's a tall order, especially since they're dealing with the Republican Party and right-wing media that's run by
the weak, the frail, the cognitively struggling.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses. They need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. We love you.